guided by the dreams we wore. From the oceans to the skies, endless fire burns in our eyes. Beyond the stars we chase the light, with fearless hearts through endless nights. No frontier can hold us down, the universe is our playground. Mountains high and oceans deep, secrets in the void we keep. Every step a tale to weave, for those who dare, who still believe. Beyond the stars we chase the light, with fearless hearts through endless nights. No frontier can hold us down, the universe is our playground. This is our playground. Mountains high and oceans deep, secrets in the void we keep. Every step a tale to weave, for those who dare, who still believe. Beyond the stars we chase the light, with fearless hearts through endless night. No frontier can hold us down, the universe is our playground. Echoes call from far away, guiding ships through cosmic sway. With every launch a new sunrise, the quest for knowledge never dies. Beyond the stars we claim the skies, bound by hope that never dies. To worlds unknown we'll make our mark, lighting flames within the dark.
Three, two, one.
Hello and welcome to CGTN's special coverage of China's latest manned space launch. I'm Xiaoyang in Beijing. In about 3 hours' time, the Shenzhou 20 crewed spaceship will be scheduled to launch from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center, which is in northwestern China. And Chinese taikonauts Chen Dong, Chen Zhongrui and Wang Jie, they'll be carrying out this mission with Chen Dong as the commander. The new crew will take over duties in space from their Shenzhou 19 peers and live in the Tiangong space station for roughly 6 months. And this is now the 5th manned mission since Tiangong reached its application and development stage. The new crew will be undertaking a range of tasks, including space science experiments, application tests, extravehicular activities, and cargo handling. And we do have our special guest in the studio, Professor Yang Yuguang, Chair of the Space Transportation Committee of the International Astronautical Federation, to talk us through what will be happening in the next few hours. So, welcome to our show, Professor Yang.
Welcome.
And now let's go to our reporter who's standing by at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. Sun Ye is there, and the three taikonauts, Chen Dong, Chen Zhongrui, and Wang Jie, they will be having a brief ceremony before their mission. Sun Ye, hello there. So pretty standard procedure that we see each time with these crewed launches. Talk us through what we expect to happen.
Hey there, Zhao Yang. I am at the Yuanbongyuan Square at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. As you said, every time the grand ceremony takes place, it starts from here. And in a few moments, I think around 20 minutes or so, the grand send-off ceremony for the Shenzhou 20 crew will be starting here. And I think perhaps you can see and you can probably hear it too. Everyone here is pumped. Now, we arrived here around 2 hours ago, and many of them were already there here by then. You see there are school children, there are engineers, workers in the space industry, there are local residents, and there are a lot of people coming from all over China just for this event. Now, while they were waiting, they weren't really just waiting and securing that best spot for watching. They were also chanting and singing. They were chanting, "We are wishing you a wonderful journey. We wish you success." Now, I don't know if you can see, but there are also reporters coming from outside of China, coming from other countries to cover this event. Now, there are Pakistani reporters, and we have just talked to a Pakistani reporter called Mohammad Ashka, and he said for this Shenzhou 20 mission, a lot of people in Pakistan would be watching too. Now, obviously, manned missions are always so eye-catching, but this one has special significance. Now, this year, China and Pakistan had signed an agreement where they've agreed to train Pakistani astronauts, and one Pakistani astronaut will be going to China space station as a payload specialist. So everything happening here today has special significance for people back in Pakistan too. Ashka actually told us the biggest message he wanted to send out today is he had all of those best wishes he wanted to wish for great success for this mission and best wishes for everything that go well. And this certainly is the sentiment from everyone here before the seeing off ceremony. Zhao Yang.
Yeah, we can certainly hear that buzz of excitement there behind you. Thank you so much, Sun Ye. And let's also go to our reporter, Zheng Yibing, who's also at the Jiuquan launch site, but near the launch pad there. Yibing, what do you have for us?
Good afternoon, Zhao Yang. I am at the launch site at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. Behind me, you can see in the distance, there stands the launch complex of China's manned space missions. Now, inside it is a Long March 2F Y-20 carrier rocket with the Shenzhou 20 spacecraft. The flight combination is waiting. Compared with the Wentinger prevailing where the Shenzhou 20 crew was set out for their space journey, the launch site is silent at the current time, but all working systems are busy working. They are coordinating closely for the upcoming launch mission. Well, recently, there have been many windy and sandy weather conditions at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. Well, this has posed a severe challenge to this launch mission. Therefore, the launch site has been closely monitoring the meteorological conditions for these days and has carried out special technical preparations. After the multiple rounds of meteorological consultations, they believe the meteorological conditions are stable at the time of the launch window, which meets the launch requirements. Now, we have the sunny and stable weather here. Well, this afternoon, after the Shenzhou 20 set out from the Wentinger prevailing, they will head to the launch site and get aboard the spacecraft. And we will keep you updated about the status here. Back to you, Jiang.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Zheng Yibing, near the launch pad at Jiuquan. And now we also have our reporter Li Shuang standing by for us at the Beijing Aerospace Control Center. Hi, Li Shuang. So there must be a lot of nervous tension there as well.
Hello, Zhao Yang. While the most thrilling part of today's launch will be out in the Gobi Desert in Jiuquan of northwest China, here at Beijing Aerospace Control Center is where much of the real-time thinking and decision-making will take place behind today's mission. You can think of this place as the brain and nervous system of China's space program. From when Shenzhou 20 lifts off to when it docks with the space station, and even when the three taikonauts will carry out tasks in orbit, the Beijing Control Center will be constantly and closely monitor and manage every step. It's like a conductor leading a complex and massive orchestra. It's monitoring not just the rocket trajectory to in-space docking procedure to life and power support systems and communication with the crew. All of it will be precisely timed and coordinated from here. And now with just 3 hours to go until the Shenzhou 20 launch, all systems here are being checked and rechecked. The mood here is focused and determined as always, with every eye on to ensure mission success. And today, there's also a deeply symbolic layer to today's mission. It coincides with the 10th China Space Day. Exactly 55 years ago, on April the 24th, 1970, China launched its first satellite, Dongfang Hong 1, marking the nation's first step into space. And today, decades later, Shenzhou 20 will continue that journey with China's space dream grows ever more ambitious. Back to you, Jiaoyang.
6.4 hours. Not every day we have this launch window. So you need a calculation. And also, you know that just during the second year of my cooperation with CCTV News, you know that at that moment we conduct the 2-day rendezvous and docking.
2 days.
2 days.
So that's a long time.
So that's a long time.
Yeah,
but today
6
it's
hours.
6.5 hours for the routinary turnover of the crew. Although, as I mentioned, it needs some conditions to achieve this goal, but it's already been very, very practical for China Aerospace. Moreover, you see that this is also very meaningful for the astronauts themselves. You see that we talk about the microgravity causes motion sickness in outer space. Usually this happens after 6 hours after they come into the microgravity environment, and it will be mostly likely to disappear after 2 days. So usually the docking will be arranged before this motion sickness happened or after it is disappeared. So this is to ensure that if anything wrong happened, we astronauts are in a good shape. So they can, if anything wrong happens to the autonomous rendezvous and docking system, they can change to the manual docking mode and then to ensure the safe and the success of the mission. So this is a very important consideration. Moreover, you can understand that when you drive a car from your home to your office, how do you feel if it takes 6 hours, more than 6 hours? So this is really necessary, I believe. And also for the cargo spacecraft, we also conduct the fastest record before about 3 hours. For manned spacecraft also, seriously, we can achieve this goal, but really maybe not very necessary. 6 hours is already very convenient enough.
Wow, yeah. I mean, it's hard to imagine what 2 days would be like then for rendezvous and docking, and this is what they would have experienced in the past. Very grueling journey. Yeah.
Another issue is that, as mentioned by your colleagues, that today the capability of the Shenzhou spaceship is increased about 20%. This is because we can have many scientific research payload mounted in the orbital module. So, honestly speaking, the orbital module is occupied by the payload, by the scientific research instrument, or even some, as mentioned by your colleague yesterday, the biological studies, this time also the zebrafish and other biological examples. So they are occupied. Usually, you know that years before, during our before the construction of a Tiangong 1 spacecraft, usually we use the orbital module also as a toilet and also the dining room for our astronauts. So you can see how difficult it is if they take too much time spent in the Shenzhou spaceships. And you know that the inner volume of a ship is much smaller than that in the space station. So that's why we hope that we can have our astronauts to reach the space station as soon as possible to make it more convenient.
So, half a year since the last launch of the Shenzhou 19, and you know, as you said, we said the orbital, that the capacity of the spaceship is increased by 20%. Have we seen many other technological advances since the last launch?
Many. Usually, you know, as you mentioned, we already entered the application and development phase.
Yeah.
And in this phase, you know that we need the changeover of the crew every half a year. So every year we should have at least 2 launch of the Long March 2F and the Shenzhou spaceship, and at least 1 or 2 launch of the Tianzhou cargo spacecraft. So they are produced in different batches. For the same batch, usually the technical specifications are the same to ensure the reliability. But for each different batch, usually there are some small improvements. Not only the hardware are improved, but also the software. You know that both the Shenzhou spaceship and the Long March 2F launch vehicle are very, very complex. They have several 100,000 or million parts. So you know that the difference between a ground vehicle and a spacecraft is that if anything wrong happened, even to a very single small part, usually if you call a very serious result. So the reliability is ensured by the examination and the test on the ground. So you can see that we will be witness of the countdown today. During different phases, we will have the test for different parts and different subsystems. But this is also optimized to be more faster and simplified.
Well, Professor Yang, we'll talk a little bit more about this in detail just a bit later.
Yeah.
We're going to look at some cooperation between China and Pakistan. Well, earlier this year, they signed an agreement to select and train astronauts. So the China Manned Space Agency said 1 Pakistani astronaut will be participating in a future Tiangong mission as a payload specialist. And this astronaut will also undertake Pakistan's science experiments in space. At the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center, a Pakistani reporter and Chinese scientists familiar with the space station's experiments welcomed international cooperation. And Professor Yang, so another thing that's kind of special about this launch, for me especially, is that it's in the daytime. It's normally it's in the middle of the night, and you know we're all here, all red-eyed and ready, but excited and ready to see this launch. But this time it's you know,
yes, this is also
5
this time
o'clock in the
is
afternoon.
more convenient for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the reason is lies in the fact that, as I mentioned, the Shenzhou spacecraft must be launched when the launch site rotates along with the Earth when it passing through the orbital plane of the Tiangong space station. But you know that this moment usually different every day. So sometimes it's it's at night, and sometimes it's in the daytime. So you don't have the choice.
Again, it's just pure coincidence.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, it makes sense, but it's also sort of hard to sometimes to think how much is left to just coincidence in that sense.
So,
right?
So there's no difference. You know that for a spacecraft orbiting the Earth in a low Earth orbit, several hundred kilometers altitude, usually you know that the speed is more than 7.8 kilometers per second. It's too fast. So even a slight difference on velocity will cause a great amount of propellant to correct it. So we don't have other choices. We just use what we call the zero launch window technology before. It means that the accuracy of the liftoff moment is better than 1 second.
But here's something else I've been interested in wondering. You know, we talked about how the weather is so important, and in Jiuquan, which is in Gansu province, right, as Zheng Yibing was telling us, you know, this is April is the season, worst time of year for sandstorms and wind, and these 2 elements that would obviously compromise a liftoff potentially. So if a launch window could come about every day, then why not just push it back by a few days in May when the weather, there's less risks, really?
Very good question. You can think about it. So every half a year we have a turnover of this. You're correct. If we change the launch time to May,
Just a few days, you know, even.
But you know that if it is in May, it will be more convenient this time. But think about it for the next crew. Will be launched in December or November. So that will be very, very cold.
So it will just push back. So what you're saying is it will push back the whole schedule.
The 2 missions every half a year.
Well, they're definitely lucky today. I mean, from what we're looking at right now, these live pictures, you know, doesn't seem to be anything potentially compromising. No sandstorm and not even much movement of the trees there. So probably not much wind either, right?
You're very right. That's the wind. How strong it is very important factor we should consider for the launch. So we have the criteria for the how fast the wind is on the ground, and also we not only consider that on the ground, but we also should consider it in a very high altitude, because you know that during the flight, the wind, if the speed is too fast, for instance, maybe during the altitude between 10 kilometers and 20 kilometers, it also will influence the safety of the spacecraft. So we must have a criteria to ensure the safety of the launch vehicle itself. And after jettisoning of the payload fairing, because you know at that moment the higher air density is already very, very low, we can recognize there's no much difference from the vacuum condition. So at that moment it will be relatively safe.
So what's a safe wind speed then, below 20 kilometers per hour?
It's different in different stages. So for the launch itself, you know that because you know that we have a very precise weather forecast, and for different stages, for instance, for the wind speed on the ground, have a different criteria with that on the high altitude. You know that the altitude of the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center is about 1,000 meters high. Is in a highland. So usually, as you mentioned, the wind is stronger than in Beijing, and also in April, especially in April and March, there are frequently we can see the sandstorms there because it's also near the Gobi Desert.
Right.
Yeah.
So
no we must consider about this for the launch. So you know that the consideration about the redundancy is always very important for the space industry and for space missions. So usually we have more resupplies in the Tiangong space station at least for 3 months. So even if anything wrong happened to the ground, to the landing side, to the launch site, we can still have the right chance and the time to prepare for launch, maybe several days later.
So the current crew up there would be able to extend their stay for up to 3 months.
Yeah. So this is another very important tolerance.
So I think we can see in the box next to the live pictures.
So on the right of the screen is the camera
training,
inside the re-entry capsule. You can see the 3 basins for the astronauts. So
this presumably is just the training that they've been doing or getting ready for this, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So on the left is the animation, I believe, for the EVA. You can see this is a camera mounted on an unmanned air vehicle. So you can see the whole scene of the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. I've been there in 2019.
Oh yeah? How was
but
that
the best season for that is July and August.
And that was when you were there?
Very, very uncomfortable. And you know that the sky is extremely clear in Jiuquan Satellite Center. You can see you can see the Milky Way in the Jiuquan Satellite Center without any difficulty with your naked eyes.
So where is the launch pad? Is that the launch pad to the right of that?
Exactly. You can see the white one. No. That's the vehicle assembly building.
Not the one that's further away, but the closer one, right? In in the square there. That's the launch pad.
Yes. So the distance between the VAB or the vehicle assembly building and the launch pad is about 1.5 kilometers.
And that's how the distance that the ground staff will need from the launch pad,
yes.
Right?
Also, we can ensure the safety of the VAB with this distance. But it is very interesting that the Long March 2F Y-21 launch vehicle and the Shenzhou 21 spaceship is already there.
All right, well, we'll get back to Professor Yang in a minute, but we're also joined by Professor Zhang Fen now. He's with the Beijing Normal University Professor of Astronomy. Professor Zhang, good to have you on the show as well. So first of all, what are your expectations of this Shenzhou 20 mission?
Right. So this is going to be a fairly regular crew rotation. So mostly they will be up there doing science experiments. There's going to be like over 60 experiments, and 3 of them, interestingly, will be involving live creatures. There's a fish. There's a worm, basically, and also bacteria. So all of these experiments will be there to let scientists know how you can manage to live in a space environment in a very healthy and productive manner. So basically, China's space program is looking to do deep space missions and also utilizing low Earth orbit for things like even manufacturing. So all of that involve prolonged stay in space. So this kind of a live creature experiment will tell you basically how your body lose bone, how it cures itself, and how you can build up an ecosystem. You can plot stuff in space. So that'll be interesting to see what they get out of those experiments.
Well, another interesting development that we've heard announced in the last few days was that China will be training 2 Pakistani astronauts, and one of them will be going up to the Tiangong space station. So, all this international cooperation that we've been talking about for a long time now. What's your outlook for the future of this? It's an exciting development.
Right. So this is really a sign of deepening collaboration. So there are 2 aspects of it. First of all, so China's space program is pretty open, especially to developing countries, to the global south. So, for example, it doesn't privately invite capable space powers to form a small clique of worthy friends. It goes through United Nations, it goes through international conferences. Just today, through China's Space Day sort of activities, they announced open solicitations to participate in a Tianwen-3 mission. And this kind of very open solicitation means every country in the world, whether they already have much expertise or not, they can put in proposals, get on board, and then they can progress sort of gradually through a incrementally more sophisticated program. So beginning with simple payload, and then next going to build sort of rovers and stuff, infrastructure things, and then even sort of like in the case of Pakistan, who's been working with Chinese space agencies for a long time, they can now just get on the manned program as well. So that's one aspect, meaning that Pakistan is now really getting a foot in the sophisticated space powers club. The other aspect is that so the Pakistani astronaut will be more of a payload specialist, meaning that he or she will be carrying out experiments designed by Pakistani scientists. And this is vitally important for the Chinese space station to become an international scientific establishment. So this is the goal, and it will become very important in the future because the International Space Station is getting decommissioned. And the commercial space stations, they may or may not go up. And even if they go up, they're not going to carry your stuff up for free. Unlike the Chinese station that works on scientific protocols, so China shoulders the up and down going costs, and then you do the experiment. You shoulder the experiment cost. So for any sort of publicly funded science experiment that needs to be done in space, China's space station may become the only available choice. And international collaboration is vitally important for science because there's only like so many experts in any particular field, and they're spread really thin across the world. And so having this capability of having foreign astronauts, foreign even scientists, eventually going up to the Chinese station is one thing that needs to be done before it becomes a truly international science laboratory.
No, certainly we'll be expecting to see more foreign nationals going up there. That'll be exciting to see the kind of collaboration projects that they'll be up to. Thank you so much, Professor Zhang Fan, joining us there. Well, Professor Yang, talking about this Pakistani payload specialist who will be going up, what sort of a format do you think that'll take? Will he be one of a 3-man crew, or do you think he'd be going up separately in addition to the normal setup of crew that we have? So there might be 4 people at the same time.
No. The capability of the Shenzhou spacecraft can only bring 3 taikonauts to outer space. But for the future, that for the Mengzhou spacecraft, it can bring 7 astronauts to our Tiangong space station after it comes into use.
7 in one
for
time.
the future, but that for the Pakistani astronaut, maybe he will be, we will conduct the selection first. So there will be a preliminary selection, another the re-selection, and also the final selection. So after selection, usually it usually at least takes 2 years for the training.
2 years for the training. So there's 2 of them right now that are basically being that passed the initial selection stage.
The one selected and the other one as a backup. So the 2 Pakistani taikonauts will stay in the astronaut center of China for at least 2 years before they go to the real flight missions. But you know, that's as I mentioned, the international cooperation is very important for China. We already have the joint experiments with other countries. Usually, the devices and they've already reached the launch pad.
That's right. They've just exited the Chen Dong, followed by Chen Zhongrui and Wang Jie there.
Yes. So
they're looking pretty calm, all things considered.
They are full of confidence. But I believe they are very clear.
They just said that Tiangong, here we come.
So they will take the lift directly to the 9th floor.
To the pad after some tests, some checkups. So they are heading up in the lift. I mean,
This
9th floor.
time also we have camera in the lift.
That's another improvement there.
So everything is improved.
9 floors, but we're not, this isn't sort of your regular building floor distance, right? We're talking 9 floors for this launch pad would be significantly higher than...
More than 9 floors, because you know that's the hatch of the side hatch of the orbital module is just have the similar height of the 9th floor. So that's the reason why we took them to the 9th floor. And also, you know, that's
How many meters off the ground would this be then?
Yeah.
Well, how many meters would this be off the ground for them?
Oh, well, it's more than, I believe, more than 60 meters.
60 meters.
The total height of the launch complex.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. So you were saying about this selection process for future and international astronauts and cooperation.
So, as you asked, you know that in the future we can have a short-term visit of the foreign astronauts, and also we can have a long-term
and more frequent, possibly,
at an ordinary crew turnover. So for the short one, they will stay there for maybe 1 week or 2 weeks. But for ordinary one, they will stay there for half a year. So we still need the formal announcement of China Space Agency how it will be clarified. But you know that for short-term visits, we can have a solution if one of our Chinese astronauts can stay there for 1 year. The chief designer, Mr. Zhou Jianping, has mentioned years before that in the future, we also will conduct the test for Chinese astronauts to stay in orbit for 1 year continuously in the future, sooner or later. So this is one choice, and there's no technical difficulty, essentially speaking. So that's only a matter of choice. So we still need the formal announcement of the China Manned Space Agency.
Okay. So 1 year could be the longest that astronauts can stay up there, but you were saying about these shortened visits. So what's a sort of a feasible turnaround for that, though? A month, are we talking, maybe at a time?
Usually we should have a good balance between the cost and also the convenience of the impact of the gravity to astronaut. If you change the crew too frequently, there will be too much cost spent on the launch and landing of a shuttle spacecraft. But if it lasts too long, it will have very serious impact on the bodies. So half a year is optimized. So there's no exception that in the International Space Station also usually the turnover takes about every half a year. So there is no difference between China and other countries.
And it wouldn't be possible to leave the space station unmanned, right? At all
it's
times.
Possible.
It is possible?
Yes, you know,
but
that's
is it
just
ideal?
You know that we don't have in-orbit turnover during the Shenzhou 12 and the Shenzhou 13 mission. So we have the launch of the Shenzhou 12 and the Shenzhou 13 spacecraft to the Tiangong Space Station, and after the mission, they will go back to the Earth and switch the status of the station from a manned status to an unmanned status.
So right now the astronauts are sitting there. That's the hatch that they'll be going through a little
You
bit
can
later.
see the hatch on the payload fairing.
Yes, on the right side of the screen
they will enter the Shenzhou spaceship with this from this hatch.
And they're just waiting now to get a little health checkup, right, to make sure everything is okay.
There were many crew from the Shenzhou spaceship system and those from the astronaut system. They will have some necessary medical checks and also help the astronauts to configure their IVA spacesuit. We can hear the voice from the ground control of the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center.
Just double checking that everything is in order.
Yes, they will not only check about the launch pad, the Shenzhou spaceship, and the launch vehicle, they will also check the status of each ground stations.
So this is the launch pad that we're looking at, the launch tower.
You know that the rescue team for the launch and for the re-entry is the same team. So this will save a large amount of money because all this will be conducted by the same rescue team. If so, during the ascending phase, if anything wrong happened to the launch vehicle and the Shenzhou spaceship, the rescue team can find the astronaut when they have an emergency landing as soon as possible.
So they're experienced in this already.
Yes.
So they're changing boots for them now.
They will take off their boots because the boots is a good protection and a very necessary protection to protect their IVA spacesuit.
They were taking it off just now, but they'll be putting it on a little bit later.
They've already taken off their boots.
And so they'll be entering the the spacecraft without their boots on.
Without, yeah.
And then they'll be putting it on later in the.
No.
They won't be again until they get onto.
They will not necessary to take that again because it's just to protect the, on the ground.
Okay. So they don't need it again even on the space station.
They don't need that. Yeah.
Oh. That was a short use for the boots. So they'll be going in probably, judging by our usual time frame that we've seen before, they'll be heading in about 20 minutes, do you think? Half an hour longer?
Well, it depends. Usually, I believe this time they will, Mr. Wang Jie will be the first one to enter the spacecraft.
Because they have assigned seats, don't they, inside the spacecraft?
Because you know that the re-entry capsule has a very narrow volume, so we have to enter that in a specified sequence.
So at this point now, they've probably not had any food or water for a while in preparation for this, and I mean they won't be really eating again until they reach the launch, reach the space station.
No. If they want to eat or drink, they can eat and drink after the launch.
After the launch, right? But
only the launch only takes less than 10 minutes. So when after the deployment of the or unfolding of the solar panels, they will that the launch site will announce the success of the launch, and after that they can open their helmet and they can drink and eat.
Okay. Well, you see the hatch door is open now. The hatch is open and they're passing some gear inside. I assume this is for doing the
They
tests.
still have the ground staff inside the orbital module and inside the re-entry capsule to check and examine everything. And also they will help the astronauts to go inside. Because you know that at this moment we're still under the influence of the Earth's gravity, so we must be very careful. So it's in a vertical status, so the orbital module is just above the re-entry capsule, so we must enter the orbital module first and then go down to the re-entry capsule.
So we're just looking at that little panel to the right there. That's just giving some stats there. We've got 2 hours and 23 minutes to go until launch. The wind speed is only 1.2 meters per second. That seems pretty good, pretty calm.
Wow, and, that's a very good condition.
Yeah, 24 degrees.
Yeah, very
and
comfortable.
high visibility, more higher than over 20 kilometers. And then the cloud, it says that the last...
Zero.
So this is pretty ideal conditions then. They waited. There was some concern leading up to this day.
I also visited this launch complex in 2019. It's this is a form for checking the status of every aspect. So not everything is electronic versions. So we still need this autographed ones.
So they'll be heading in there, and then they'll be waiting in there for another 2 hours before the actual liftoff.
Yeah. So
5:17.
still many preparations we need, and the Mr. Chen Dong, you know that he's commander, so he's in charge of everything.
Yeah, it's
So if anything wrong happened, to ensure the safety of the ground team and to ensure the safety of the crew, the Shenzhou 20 crew, we must activate the emergency escape system.
Right.
To make it possible to work, we must expose the emergency escape system to the open space. So that is the reason why we open the top one first.
That's the escape, the emergency escape. So just remind us again, when we get a picture in a minute of the launch tower again, so where they are right now, are they near the top of the tower? Are they near the middle part of the tower?
This is, as I mentioned, this is a camera mounted inside the orbital module.
Yeah.
So it's inside the payload fairing of the Long March 2F launch vehicle.
All the way down to the
underground.
And so they can get down there in a couple of seconds.
So there is a closed room to ensure their safety, to isolate the high temperature, the vibration of the ignition of the engines.
And that's something that has been in place in the launch pad for several
Since
many
the construction, we've already have this measure.
That's actually the first time that I think we've talked about this. That's pretty fascinating, actually.
Yeah. So this is very necessary because you know that one very remarkable feature of a manned space mission is the ground team. We discussed for even already it is an ordinary routine for us, but still there are so many factors that is really, really risky.
Right.
And also we must be extremely careful for any step, although it's already a routinary step. But you know that still at any moment we have so many uncertainty. For instance, you have the weather forecast for the wind.
Yeah.
But still maybe even in the very clear weather, you're gonna
northwest of the country. And here in the studio, we're also joined by Professor Yang Yuguang, Chair of the Space Transportation Committee of the International Astronautical Federation. Well, just to bring you up to speed, earlier, around 2 p.m., so about 2 hours ago, a departure ceremony was held for the astronauts as they embarked towards the launch pad and entered the module. And this is China's 35th spaceflight mission overall. And also, in terms of its manned mission, it's the 5th one of the application and development stage of the Tiangong space station. The taikonauts on this three-man crew, Chen Dong, Chen Zhongrui, and Wang Jie, they will be staying in space for about 6 months. And they are expected to return to Earth October this year. The Shenzhou 19 crew, who the 20 will take over from, are currently in orbit, and they will be completing the handover, and they're scheduled to return to Earth on April 29th. And now let's go to our reporter, Zheng Yibing, who's there at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. Hello, Yibing. So we're seeing the launch pad there right behind you. The astronauts are sitting in there getting ready, about an hour to go. What can you tell us?
Hello there, Zhao Yang. It's just more than an hour ahead of the ignition of the Shenzhou 20 launch mission. Behind me in the distance, we could see the launch complex for manned flight mission of the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. While the Shenzhou 20 trio have stayed in the spacecraft for more than an hour, they are adapting to the environment in the spacecraft and making the final preparation with the revolving platforms at the launch pad to be opened one by one. The flight combination of the Long March 2 FKR rocket and the Shenzhou 20 spaceship will be showed up for the launch moment. And we see this beautiful rocket again, and it's our old friend, but it continuously to make new improvements for each mission. For its status, joining me now is Ms. Xu Shanshan from China Aerospace Science and Technology Cooperation. Good to see you. 苏老师您好。那我们现在知道了航天员已经进入到了这个神舟飞船当中。那么我们的这个查尔 F 火箭目前是什么样的一个状态？
And what's the status of the Y-20 rocket? For Y-20 rocket, right now coming to the final preparation, and we now checking that all the systems in a good shape and condition. We know Y-20 rocket every time also made some modification for each launch mission. What's the upgrade this time? For this time, the rocket upgrades is for the transmission speed, and we talk about that the data transfer actually is right now enlarged from 2 lanes to 5 lanes. So you could see that's doubled the speed of data transferring. And also this time, the system also used like the high definition camera system. So during the flight period, that will provide us that whole range of information and pictures.
昨天的见面会上的话，我们也听到了关于外籍的航天员即将加入到中国空间站的这个任务当中来。那您对这个未来外籍的航天员进入到这个在任务当中的话，有些什么样的建议呢？长安 F 火箭还会有些什么样的改进呢？
Perspective, what's your suggestion on upgrades of Y-20? So for the international the technologist, my suggestions, please learn Chinese. And also for our side, and we will keep upgrading our system to provide a better environment, enabling environment, and also provide a comfortable and safe environment for them. Thank you very much,
Well,
Ms.
that's Ms. Xu Shanshan from China Aerospace and Science and Technology Cooperation. Now, after the recent windy and sandy weather, the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center has embraced a very good weather. Now, the local temperature is about 24 degrees Celsius, and wind speed is about 2.4 meters per second. It's really favorable for the launch mission, and we see many people are coming into the launch site to witness this mission. So let's send our best wishes to the Shenzhou 20 mission and the 3 crew members. Back to you, Zhang.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Zheng Yibing at the Jiuquan launch site. Well, a full system drill was conducted on Sunday at the launch center. The drill tested mission readiness, including flight preparation, liftoff, spaceship rocket separation, and functional checks on the tower, the rocket, and the spacecraft itself. The spaceship and carrier rocket were transported to the launch site a week ago. The Shenzhou 20 crew will be replacing the Shenzhou 19, and preparations are also being made for the return of the 19 crew who have been on the space station since October last year, so about 6 months.
Those astronauts were going to go in space and they were going to be doing the experiments.
Beyond lunar missions, China-Pakistan Space Cooperation has already transformed communication and remote sensing in Pakistan. The 3 major satellite projects, COMSAT-1R, Remote Sensing Satellite 1, and the latest multi-mission communications satellite launched in 2024 have had a profound impact. The new satellite transforms digital access in remote Pakistan.
Chang'e's 8 mission, the rover project is now formally selected by the China National Space Agency, CNSA. And now at this moment, the preliminary design process has started, and also the process for the interface. So interface is very key thing. So interface requirement process has also started. So the rover will be going in 2028, will be landing on the moon and doing, and of course they will carry a lot of payloads, scientific advanced payloads. So we'll be conducting those experiments there.
The partnership extends beyond technology. It's about knowledge sharing and talent development. Over the past 5 years, China has trained more than 200 Pakistani space professionals and established 3 joint R&D centers.
China has been a long-term partner with Pakistan, and they are really interested to collaborate with us. And because Pakistan has, we don't have infrastructure to launch satellites and all that, and China has been the partner to launch all the remote sensing satellites that we have. I think that Pakistan is not self-reliant in the field, and through the interest of China, we will be progressing really rapidly, and it is a source of inspiration, a source of motivation to younger generation that the future is bright.
The collaboration even extends to agriculture and medicine. In 2022, China and Pakistan launched a space breeding program, sending 7 important Pakistani medicinal plant seeds to space to study their growth in microgravity. With each mission, Pakistan moves closer to the stars, and with China as a partner, the journey is off on a strong start. Space for All, a new chapter in China-Pakistan friendship. Daniel Khan, CGTN, Islamabad.
China and Europe too have been collaborating on space exploration, and since the 1980s, this partnership has led to the joint development and launch of remote sensing satellites and astronomical satellites. And together they promoted lunar exploration and deep space discoveries that are out of this world, as Natalie Carney reports.
Cooperation is the key, so all this is very important to lunar science.
I think we have established a relationship of trust and also friendship.
Und in dieser Kammer wurden alle Einstein-Probe-Module getestet.
The team at the Max Planck Institute for Extraterrestrial Physics, or MPE, in Munich, Germany, were very excited to receive a call from the Chinese Academy of Sciences.
We've been talking to Chinese partners for quite some time about doing a collaboration in X-ray astronomy.
The Chinese-led Einstein probe space mission, being developed to search for X-rays emitted by explosions across the universe, provided the perfect opportunity.
We were excited to be involved in this project. We have expertise that we've developed over many years, over decades really, in building sensitive imaging and spectroscopic X-ray telescopes. And this is exactly what you want to do with a mission like Einstein Probe.
MPE have designed 2 X-ray telescopes which are now taking detailed scans of the sky from the Einstein probe in search of black holes and neutron stars.
We already know in principle how X-rays emit radiation, but this is precisely the niche we want to advance. Rapid variability, and this niche is now being filled with the Einstein probe.
For some 4 decades, China and European partners have been working together on scientific research, Earth observation, and lunar exploration to try and understand our universe and the great beyond. When China launched its Chang'e 6 mission to collect samples from the far side of the moon, 3 of its 4 international payloads came from Europe, such as the INRI reflector, which helped position the lander. Designed and developed by scientists at the National Institute of Nuclear Physics in Italy, the small array of mirrors in the INRI reflect laser beams which measure distance, allowing it to accurately position satellites, landers, and rovers within 1 millimeter.
The mission was launched, it landed successfully, and then about a month later, the microreflector was observed successfully by a laser orbiting the moon. It's important to have reflectors on the first side. This is the very first one, allows to start a precise positioning of the reflector and the lander, and this data typically go to a planetary data system database, which is then available to all the world online.
Also on board the Chang'e 6 was France's first scientific instrument on the moon, the Dorn, developed to measure radon gas and other volatile elements to help scientists understand the physical and thermal properties of lunar soil.
If we understand better the migration of radon, we will be able to better understand also the migration of other volatile species, like for instance water, that can migrate to the cold polar regions and then form ices. That is a prime interest for the future Chang'e 7, Chang'e 8 missions and or emissions from other international agencies.
French planetary scientists are also working jointly with Chinese teams to detect and study gamma-ray bursts in outer space through a mission called the Space-Based Multi-Band Astronomical Viable Object Monitor.
The first gamma-ray burst was detected with the Chinese gamma-ray monitor instrument, and since then, we have accumulated a lot of data. The holy grail is to finally manage to accumulate enough information and locate the burst to convince large ground-based telescopes to repoint in order to somehow measure the distance of the burst.
En quelque sorte, la distance du sursaut.
These partnerships in astrophysics and data sharing are opening up the world to the discoveries of the vast unknowns of our universe.
This means a lot. I mean, exploring the moon, reaching the moon with a rocket, an orbiter, and then landing is very expensive, very difficult. So cooperation is the key. So all this is very important to lunar science.
Culturally, we have differences, but we also have a common passion to do science. The differences can mean that everyone brings something new, and something new can make progress.
I think we have established a relationship of trust and also friendship between the two sides.
It's opening up a completely new discovery space. And really, without the combination of the European technology and the Chinese technology, this would not work. It needs both, and therefore it's a perfect collaboration.
Many more projects are already in the pipeline as Chinese launch capacity, coupled with European scientific expertise, is advancing space science and enhancing the possibilities of exploring far beyond what scientists once thought possible. Natalie Carney, CGTN, Munich.
Anything wrong can happen. So if he feels sick, the other backup can take his role. So this is a very necessary step to ensure the success and the safety of the crew.
Right, so the only variable really is the engineer.
So this is the advantage of the next generation. You see that for the next generation, the Mengzhou spaceship will be the next generation. And for Mengzhou spaceship, if it conducts a low Earth orbit mission, it can bring 6 to 7 astronauts to Tiangong. And still, we only need 2 pilots.
So they can bring more
as you
variety.
mentioned, so we can have 4 flight engineers or even 4 payload specialists.
What about in the future civilian astronauts too? Maybe scientists, other people maybe have a chance of going up there?
So as former announced of China Manned Space Agency before, in the future with the Mengzhou spaceship, it is also possible not only have the scientists as you mentioned, but also we can have tourists.
Tourists?
Yes,
I mean,
it's possible.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, that's already happening in other places in the world already, isn't it?
It's already happened in other countries of the world. But honestly speaking, even if we can reduce the cost of an orbital visit to Tiangong Space Station to 1/10 of the current level, still is not acceptable for the common people. Still only a chance for billionaires. But you know that for the common people, I think the suborbital tourism is the right choice for the common people.
Well, that's tourism, but say scientists, I mean, they would be going up there to perform very important experiments and things. That would be sort of a government initiative in that sense.
Exactly. You see that although you know that Ms. Wang Haoze and Ms. Wang Jie, Dr. Wang Jie this time, their role are flight engineers. But still, you know that they are engineers in space industry. And I can still remember that Ms. Wang Haoze is a designer of rocket engines. And also from the internet we can read that Dr. Wang Jie is an engineer in charge of the design of scientific experiments on board Tiangong Space Station, how to optimize the isolation of vibration from the space station. You know, this is important for some certain scientific research. So he is the right one for design the scientific research experiments in Tiangong Space Station. So he is a very good one, a good choice to be the crew.
But earlier you were saying, you know, when you consider the turnaround of these space missions, you have to factor in the costs of this, you know, the feasibility, viability. So that's why they've arrived at the 6 months stretch.
Exactly.
So in the future, it's just, you know, hypothesizing in the future, if space tourism became a regular thing, this would probably presumably have to be timed with each of these mission rotations, right? Otherwise, spaceship goes up, you can't just bring them back straight away.
So this is a very reasonable consideration. You know that today also the lifespan for a certain spaceship in orbit is also about 6 months.
Right.
So we must also not only consider about how comfortable it is or the impact of the influence to the health condition of our astronauts, but also we should consider about the reliability of our Shenzhou spacecraft. Because if it is in orbit, although it is in a what we call it maybe in a hibernate status, but still the influence of the radiation and other very hazardous conditions in outer space also have the impact on our Shenzhou spaceship. So it is reasonable to ensure the safety. We need the change of the every crew for about every half a year. But you know, as we mentioned, if we this is a routinary turnaround, but for a short-term visit, we can have a special mission. For instance, maybe the launch vehicle will visit the Tiangong space station will be maybe only several days. But in this case, it is very interesting. We have an ideal choice to change the crew from one Shenzhou spaceship to another one. So this is to shorten the duration of a certain spaceship in orbit. And more interesting is that according to the experience in other countries, we need to not only change the astronauts themselves, but also we need to change the basin. Because as I mentioned, each basin or the seat in the re-entry capsule is designed according to the shape of their body. So this can ideal the measure, the countermeasure to the impact to the greatest extent. So if you change in orbit the astronauts to a different crew, you also need to change the basin. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, there are a lot to consider in there.
Yeah.
So for this Shenzhou 20 crew, they'll be going up there and they'll be with the the Shenzhou 19 crew for only a day, a couple of days? Well, 4 days.
Well, it has already been announced, as Mr. Lin Xixiang has already mentioned, the Shenzhou 19 crew will return to the Earth on the 29th of April. So they will stay together for about 5 days. So usually, you know that the turnover is very, very important. And since the Shenzhou 14 mission also with Mr. Chen Nong as a commander, we conducted the first in-orbit handover. So the in-orbit handover is the necessary step for China to follow the advanced countries in Arctic. You know that in 1980s, the former Soviet Union has already achieved the first in-orbit handover on board the Mir space station. So in-orbit handover is the most efficient measure to not only hand over with a different crew of the scientific research, but also you know that to operate space complex like the space station, there are all kinds of subsystems critical to their daily life, especially the environmental control and the life support system. We need these to tell the next crew the configurations, the problems, and also everything face to face.
Right. But on the ground, when this, the current crew, when they're doing their training, I mean, they would have simulated space station environments to kind of work in, right? To kind of get used to the environment as well.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a reason why we use a neutral buoyancy pool in our China Astronaut Center.
I saw some images of that.
So this is, but you know that although we can use the buoyancy in water, we can simulate the microgravity, but still, you know that this is really tough. Each kind of training. So there is no exception. Not only for the female astronaut, even for the male astronauts, every time after underwater training, they cannot even raise a chopstick during launch. So you can see how tough it is. But it is not the most painful one. The most painful one will be the survival in wild field. You know that.
What would that entail?
Usually in Badan Jilin Desert or in the Gobi Desert.
Oh, this is if in case something happens on their return.
Exactly.
Right.
So anything wrong can happen during a flight mission. So they must have the ability to survive by themselves at least for 2 days in any condition, in deserts, in forests, or even in oceans. So before the arrival of this rescue team, the astronauts must have this ability.
And do they actually do this in the real environment? They actually do the survival training?
Even if they've already have a flight mission before, for the next mission, you must do this test.
Well, I mean, they're trained in everything.
Yeah. So they even need to drink their own urine because maybe they cannot get any water.
Yeah, exactly.
So they must keep their urine, and even they need to drink their own.
And knowing how to start fires, hunt for food, stay away from any wild beasts. I mean, this is all critical to survival.
Well, it's already 5 p.m. So I believe that it's close to the last batch of our ground crew to withdraw from the launch complex.
Yes, exactly. Just 17 more minutes to go. And Professor Yang, so we're looking at those images of the people standing there, and as we were saying before, normally these launches happen in the middle of the night, but now this is in the daytime, and we're getting a
Yeah. And also, that today, with the advantage of the Tianlian data relay satellite, we can have a continuous connection with the launch vehicle and with the Shenzhou spaceship.
But China does have a launch site in the south of China as well, in Wenchuan.
Yes, in the future, maybe our astronauts will go to the moon from the Wenchang launch site. Because that with the diameter increased to 5 meters, it is very difficult to transport this launch vehicle to Jiuquan satellite. Everything in abnormal conditions.
I mean, it's also, safety aside, it also helps to keep them calm and focused, right, to be able to go through these.
They are really calm, but I believe that they are also very happy.
Yeah, especially for the two who are going there for the first time as well.
Yes.
So they were from China's third intake of astronauts.
Yeah.
And there's the fourth intake already that's under training, right?
Yeah. And I can still remember during the maiden flight of Commander Chen Dong, during the Shenzhou 11 mission, the commander is Mr. Jing Haipeng. And Mr. Jing Haipeng asked Mr. Chen Dong twice, do you feel happy?
And what did he answer?
Yeah, of course, it's a positive answer. And that is very beautiful when the payload fairing is separated from the
because you can see, right?
We can have, especially for 02 and 03, because that they are not sitting in the middle.
Yeah,
they have a better view with the window.
I mean, that's also a good consideration, because a lot of times it seems as if the captain is the one, the commander is the one who is the veteran, who's been up there already, and the two who are with him are doing their debut space mission. So for them to get to see everything in its splendor.
Well, that's usually the thrust of the rocket engines are in a constant value, but that with the usage of the propellant, the acceleration will be very, very remarkable. Usually in a normal launch procedure, the acceleration or the g-forces can reach to about 3.4 times than your own mass. So it will force on your bodies, acting on your bodies, and also at the same moment there are also very intensive vibration.
Right.
That both these factors can be simulated on the ground, but you cannot simulate both simultaneously on the ground. So that is the reason why Mr. Yang Liwei feels so inconvenient during the first flight, because the g-forces and the vibration act to him together.
And then that's also, I presume, that's why they need the seats to be so tailor-made to their bodies, right? To try and maximize the comfort.
So that's the reason why I mentioned that the seats also must be exchanged if the crew changes to a different crew, because the basin or the seat is made according to his own shape.
Yeah, to make it more comfortable. I mean, that's sort of the vibration plus the g-forces. I mean, if it can't be simultaneously recreated here on Earth, it's incredibly hard to imagine what that'll be like. I mean, it's only these astronauts who've been up there.
The most time for the astronaut is that not only the normal condition, it's only 3.6 times of your own mass. But in emergency escape or emergency re-entry, it can reach more than 8 G. And the more tough thing is if your role is a pilot, not only you must can afford these 8G forces, you must have the ability to do the right choice, to press the right buttons under the 8G. So that's the responsibility for a pilot.
So how have these astronauts described that feeling, that combined feeling? So, G-force and vibration. What does it feel like?
Proud us most is that until today on the ground simulation facility, so there is a button. If the astronaut feel uncomfortable, they can press the button to stop the simulation. But until today, no one has pressed this button before.
Very stoic, very brave.
Yeah, they are very brave.
Yeah, and they're enduring a lot.
They are willing to sacrifice to China's manned space program. So that is.
That's the zero command.
T-minus 5 minutes and counting.
Yeah, I mean, this is why you're saying about the physical conditions that they need to be in and the physical training they go through, but there's a lot expected of these astronauts.
So within several seconds, we will see the transition of the power supply from the launch complex or the ground to the storage batteries on board the Shenzhou spaceship and the launch vehicle.
That's when we'll see the orange arms separating, right?
Yeah,
disconnecting.
Because we don't need the ground supply any longer.
I mean, even though we have done this, we have seen this a few times, it is sort of the nerve-wracking moment, isn't it? This next few minutes.
Exactly.
I feel it too, every time.
And I should say congratulations to Mr. Chen Zhongrui and Dr. Wang Jie, and congratulate for them to fulfill their dreams to go to outer space.
Oh, absolutely. So just a few minutes left, 4 minutes left until the ignition, not the liftoff, but the ignition.
Less than 5 minutes.
And at this point, the ground crew will have all left, right?
All have already withdrawn from the launch complex.
So it's just the astronauts now. But this is something that we've talked about before, but everything is basically all set, all pre-programmed, isn't it? So there's just, in a way, very little room for error.
Not 100%. As we've already discussed, why we have so many simulations time and time again? Because you know that not only all the parameters can be pre-set, because you know that as we were discussing. Okay, T-minus 3 minutes and counting. So you can see that the influence of the wind speed, the influence of the weather condition, and also many other things can influence the final parameter of the mission itself. So it is necessary and reasonable to conduct all these simulations before the launch. And also in different stages of the countdown, we have the comprehensive checking and confirmation of each system.
But that is pretty much all done by the ground teams. And in terms of what these 3 astronauts will have to manually do inside the spacecraft as they're heading towards the space station, what would that involve?
Something can be done automatically. Today, the AI technology is widely used, and also no exception in we speak. But look, just on the previous video, we can see that again, the face mask of each astronaut were closed.
Yes, they.
So it's already reached the final ignition.
Well, yes, they've got just 2 minutes to go.
Yeah.
So they don't really. So there's kind of very little for them to have to do, for the astronauts to have to do until they start, say, the docking rendezvous.
But still, they are reading the instructions.
Yeah, that's true.
Next, we will see that the orange arms will be separated, detached from the launch vehicle.
It's all in the hands of the ground team, basically, now.
Yeah.
And we saw different teams earlier working there, some in white, some in blue. These are all teams focused on different parts.
Some belongs to the launch vehicle system, some belongs to the Shenzhou space system, and some belongs to the astronaut system. The astronaut system will be in charge of the health condition, the IVA spacesuit, and the inside life support system of the Shenzhou spacecraft. So, okay, T-minus 1 minute. I believe that at this moment, the onboard computer of the launch vehicle has already in charge of everything.
Well, it looks like the orange arms are still connected right now.
It will rotate soon.
Oh, it's
you can
happening
see
right
that
now.
the Shenzhou 19 crew is watching
Yes.
the live coverage. Okay, all detached.
So the rocket is now completely on its own.
30
30
seconds.
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 20 seconds to go.
Every system is go for launch.
10 seconds.
8, 7,
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Salute.
起飞，70，摇拐时，摇拐分31秒，441毫秒，70，摇拐时，摇拐分31秒，441毫秒。90，程序转弯，程序转弯。
It's over. It's over is to change the direction of the flight from vertical direction to the eastern route.
So it's a slight adjustment in the flight trajectory.
So beautiful.
And there it is, that's the Shenzhou
青山
20.
USB 雷达跟踪正常，遥测信号正
So
常。
we can hear the voice of the ground station that the tracking is normal. And you can see this beautiful view of the launch vehicle.
雷达跟踪正常。
How many adjustments would the rocket normally have to make in its trajectory on the way there? Is there a set
It
calculated?
needs to change its direction continuously. Okay, look, this is a camera mounted on the launch vehicle, looking backward.
Yeah, we're getting a really good view because it's daytime
Yes,
as well.
and also you can see 2 of the 4 rocket boosters,
That's right.
each with a diameter of 2.25 meters.
Those will be jettisoned a little bit later on in the flight. right?
Usually at about 120 seconds after liftoff.
I imagine the Shenzhou 19 crew are sitting there remembering, recalling
Look,
when they were lifting off.
You can
that
still
moment.
see the camera inside the cabin, but although the vibration and the G-forces are already acting on the bodies of the astronauts, but
they
still
seem
they are very calm.
Yeah.
So the first critical step will be the jettisoning of the emergency escape tower.
So that's the one at the top.
Yeah. So several seconds later, it's close.
I mean, the 19 crew must also be excited that the 20 is coming to take over for them so
I
that
believe
they
they've
can head
already
home.
prepared the dinner for them.
Yeah, yeah. Then only a few more days before they can head home themselves.
Okay, jettisoned.
That's the escape tower that's been
Escape
jettisoned.
tower has jettisoned because it's already high enough and the aerodynamic forces have already been a low level, not necessary to remain on the top.
At what point will these astronauts stop feeling the G-forces and the vibration?
So next
Now?
will be the separation of the 4 boosters.
Should be seeing that any moment, right?
You can see that although it's daytime, but the background you can see the sky is already black because this is already near the vacuum condition.
Oh, that's the
Okay, separated.
boosters. They all go at the same time, right?
Yeah, so you
there
can
it is.
see the 4 boosters form a cross. And also the first stage has already successfully separated from the launch vehicle. Now the second stage, the second cross stage has already been ignited.
And at this point, are the astronauts still feeling the G-forces? Or
Exactly,
they're
they
still-
can feel both the vibration because even outside the atmosphere, still the working of the rocket engines can form the vibration. So this is a camera mounted on the second stage. You can see that the Earth in the daytime is very bright.
Right.
So you can. This is a camera mounted in the payload fairing. You can see the solar panels in the folded condition.
And the solar panels are
within
very...
several seconds we will see. Okay.
there it is.
Beautiful.
Jettisoned. And the solar panels are obviously the important
So
indicator here.
at
for
this
the
moment,
success.
Mr. Chen Zhongrui and Dr. Wang Jie can enjoy the view.
北京明白。
They're back to their manuals again.
So they changed to the different pages because it's in a different stage.
So What else is there to jettison now? So they've jettisoned the emergency tower, the emergency escape, the boosters, the payload.
First stage, and then the payload fairing. So the next step, that will last for many minutes, because that although the second stage of our Long March 2F launch vehicle only have one engine, it has one main engine and 4 vernier engines. The vernier engines, the thrust is very small, but it can change its directions to keep the right attitude. Look, this is a camera mounted on the rear part of the second stage of our Long March 2F launch vehicle. You can see the big nozzle is the main engine. We can hear the voice of the ground station that the flight is normal, and the ground stations can track the launch vehicle very normally.
Which is good to know.
Well, you can see one of the vernier engines, the smaller nozzle, you can see. So this is a camera mounted on the second stage.
Is it now more comfortable for the astronauts?
Not very comfortable.
Still
because
not.
That with less propellants, okay, you can see also still Dr. Wang Jie is still looking the menu.
Probably helps to calm the nerves as well.
So you may notice that this time from the Shenzhou spacecraft, we can see the high definition video from the inside.
Yes.
It follows the high definition standard, 1080 pixels solution.
And this has been an upgrade as well, right? For
yes,
this particular
it's upgraded.
Very bright.
Okay, the Qingdao ground station near the eastern coast of China has already captured the launch vehicle. So Qingdao is the last ground station
in China,
in mainland of China. So the next will be the space tracking ships. So you can have a very beautiful view of the very bright Earth.
Yeah.
So in the daytime, and also the black sky, even in daytime.
So we've got images there on the right of the Shenzhou 19 crew on the Tiangong at the bottom, and then our Shenzhou 20 crew inside the capsule.
There is a very interesting thing before. That Mr. Jing Haipeng is also watching the live coverage of China Media Group, and your colleague say hello to him, and he can respond because he's watching the live coverage of CCTV.
So why is it that the solar panels, that's such an important indicator of a successful launch?
For the storage battery of Shenzhou Space, we only have a limited volume or capacity of the storage battery. So we need the solar panels to provide continuous power supply. So that is the reason we only announce the success of a launch mission when the solar panels is normally unfolded and extended to a very big one.
It means the continuous stable supply.
Yeah, exactly. So electricity is very important for flight mission. But after docking to the space station, so the power system can be combined together.
Right. And there's the Qingdao monitoring station
has
again.
Already both the upstream link and the downstream link. So you can see the flame of the nozzles are quite different from those on the ground.
And the type of fuel that these rockets use, can you just tell us a little bit more about that again?
Well, that's the main engine of the second stage will work for a very long time, and it will shut down first. But this is not the end of the mission of the launch vehicle. So the 4 vernier engines, you can see the rotation of the vernier engine. The 4 vernier engines will work longer to adjust the trajectory, to make it precise enough. So they are laughing.
It's a good sign. And Professor Yang, so all these pieces of the rocket that's been shed, that would just fall back to Earth, and what will happen to them? Do they get retrieved again? Do they just get left?
No. Because that is the Long March 2F is not a reusable launch vehicle, but in the future, probably Long March 10 for the next generation spaceship will be a reusable one.
And that leads me to ask as well, because this time one of their important missions for important tasks for the 20 crew is to install that protective device against space debris, right? How big of a problem is space debris?
We've already met some problem. You know that the Tianhe module, the core module, Tianhe 1, have 2 solar panels. One of the panel was slightly damaged by the space debris. Actually speaking, the cables. So the Shenzhou 18 crew and the Shenzhou 19 crew has already do some attempts. So this problem has already been solved.
Okay.
So that's the reason why we need the protection.
And we're hearing another ground station there.
The space tracking ships have already captured. You
We're
can
seeing
see
a
on the
simulation,
bottom
right,
we can see the 3D simulation. Oh, the main engine has already cut off.
Ah. Oh.
Burning engine also shut off.
So now the shuttle, the spacecraft is on its own.
Okay. So the Long March 2F Y-20 launch vehicle has already accomplished its task. And
you can see the smiles on people's faces now at Jiuquan.
So at this moment, we will not only unfold the solar panels, but also we will release our antenna of the data release system. Because you know that for high-speed transmission, we need a relatively big antenna for the to point accurately to our Tianlian data relay satellite. Tianlu is a data relay satellite.
And they're saying that everything is normal.
So the Shenzhou 19 crew is also watching the live coverage of CMG.
Yeah, so aside from that installation of that protective device, there's also mention of a robot that might be used
already
up there
used.
with.
We can show a video also from CMG that Ms. Wang Haoze is test the small robot called maybe Xiaofei inside the cabin. Okay, the ground station also we heard the voice reporting the normal status. I just in the previous I noticed that Dr. Wang Jie is enjoying the microgravity with his pen.
So this robot, what would that be used for then? Will it be able to complete any?
To be a digital assistant.
Okay. Would it be able to help with any of these more dangerous missions?
No,
like EVA?
That is inside the cabin. So not like the robotic arms outside the station. So they can make the work more simply and more easily, but not reduce the risk. You know that the robotic arm plays a very important role in the operation of a space station. Oh, the solar panels are unfolded. A really beautiful view from the, actually speaking, the propulsion module of our Shenzhou spacecraft. You know that the Shenzhou spacecraft have 3 modules: the orbital module, the re-entry capsule, and the propulsion module. So this is a camera mounted on the propulsion module, and it can monitor one of the solar panels.
And this is a very important
also, you know that we have 2 different systems on the concerning about the Tianlian data relay satellite. One can transmit important critical parameters, and one can transmit very heavy data streams. So we need that is the reason why we need a big antenna for this Tianlian data relay satellite to transmit the videos.
We were just hearing earlier the ground staff there saying that the solar panels have opened up.
But I believe that the Shenzhou spacecraft will enter the shadow area very soon.
And what will that mean? What sort of impact will that have?
They will be at night.
Okay. So not much change for them. There's nothing to have to adjust or for the spacecraft to do. You're saying the solar panels have expanded.
But don't worry. We have plenty of energy in the storage batteries. So usually in the shadow area, the Shenzhou space only need to fly about less than 40 minutes.
Right.
So at this moment, still we cannot announce the success of the launch. Only when we double check the accuracy of the orbital parameters of the Shenzhou spacecraft, only it's accurate enough, we can announce that it is a successful launch.
When you say accurate enough, meaning what exactly?
Means that the energy or the propellants inside the propulsion module of the Shenzhou space is good enough to catch up with the Tiangong space station and have the chance to correct all errors and dock with the Tiangong space station.
That should be pretty soon, right? Judging by the
pretty soon, but we still need some. You know that there are different data sources. We have the measurements inside the Shenzhou spacecraft. Also, we have the data from the devices which can help with the help of the Beidou navigation satellites. We also have the ground stations like together with the space tracking ships to have different data sources. And finally, we can have a very accurate determination of the orbit of the Shenzhou 20. And with the analysis of the ground crew, we can finally make the decision or make the conclusion.
Yeah, just some more communication between the different We're hearing astronauts there saying that they feel fine and everything is normal and functioning as expected. But from judging from previous experiences watching these launches, the time for all of this is very well controlled, right? I mean, it seems to be kind of pretty much always on the mark. It's like within half an hour of the launch, everything's declared a success. So it's controlled down to the down to the second.
So although as I mentioned, all the parameters several days before, but most critical ones should be a design. So it's not a coincidence that every time we have the right moment to do the right thing.
Yeah, it's incredibly precise. It's impressive.
You can see that
they're lifting
their face masks. Yeah. So this means that the most dangerous part of this launch has already been successful, and they can be relaxed.
So now they're not feeling any of these forces or vibrations.
So they are enjoying the microgravity now.
Yeah.
实时轨道与遥测数据监视判断，神舟20号载人飞船已进入近地点高度200公里，远地点高度359公里。
So from now on, it will be about how many hours until they reach the Tiangong?
6.5 hours.
6.5 hours from now, from liftoff.
We just heard from the ground crew that the perigee or the nearest lowest point of the Shenzhou 20 is 200 kilometers, and
Well, planarians, zebrafish, and streptomyces, the latter is a major producer for antibiotics. These are also going along with the Shenzhou 20 crew to the China space station for experiment. And research based on these organisms in the space station is very meaningful for humans too.
This project aims to compare conditions on Earth and in space to understand how the complex space environment affects the regeneration process in planarians. One of our initial goals in designing this project was to consider that as the space station becomes operational, humans will spend increasingly longer periods stationed there. Extended periods in orbit may cause various tissue damage that requires repair. In any tissue and organism repair process, it actually involves stem cell behavior. That's why we chose to use planarian species as a model, because they have particularly strong regenerative abilities.
This experiment at the space station uses zebrafish as a model organism to study two critical scientific questions in space medicine: the mechanisms of bone loss and cardiovascular remodeling. We are particularly looking forward to observing what changes actually occur in the body under real microgravity conditions in space, while conducting an in-depth analysis of the mechanisms involved to lay the foundation for more precise countermeasures in the future.
We selected a group of very useful microorganisms called Streptomyces, which is a genus of bacteria that produce many antibiotics well known to humans. We will focus on these microorganisms to explore what changes occur during their growth, development, and differentiation in the space environment. While it's relatively easy to observe changes in higher organisms, it's challenging with bacteria. However, Streptomyces provide us with excellent research materials. We will study the biological effects of space environment on them, and these effects will be reflected in changes to the functions that are beneficial to humans.
The Tiangong space station was completed more than 2 years ago, and space experiments on board have focused on fields such as life science and human body research and microgravity physics. Zheng Yibing also talked with an expert on developments in another area of study, and that's new space technologies.
One of the main experimental fields that China's space station covers is new space technologies and application.
We currently have 5 major research directions in this field. They are general new technologies for spacecrafts, new energy and propulsion, environmental control and life protection systems, in-orbit construction, as well as robot and automation technology.
In this field, there are multiple results achieved by teams from across the country. For example, the verification and application of the microbial control technology system, an in-orbit experiment involving free piston steering thermal-electric conversion technology for future space energy system, and liquid metal thermal management techniques in space. Guo Pei notes, the technologies not only help future space missions, but also people on Earth.
A lot of space technologies and civilian technologies are indeed interlinked. For example, microbial prevention and control technology, on the one hand, can provide the technical basis and data accumulation for the long-term microbial prevention and control of the manned space station in orbit. Its antibacterial and mildew prevention technology is also interlinked in the civilian field, and is also expected to produce some transformations in the latter.
Now, scientists are carrying out corresponding experiments both in space and on Earth. Many more results yet to be reviewed are expected to improve technological maturity and provide technical support for future spacecraft and aerospace development.
With the successful launch of the Shenzhou 20 space mission, global space agencies are hoping to expand the cooperation with China on manned space missions. Christian Feichtinger, the executive director of the International Astronautical Federation, is looking forward to more collaboration on the China space station.
Welcome to space, I would say. I mean, again, we tend to forget the great and the technical complexity of these kind of missions, because it has become routine that manned spacecrafts are launched, that astronauts are doing the rotation on the station. But it is always a great achievement, and we should never forget all the people that are behind these great successes. So I can only congratulate China the astronauts, of course, and all the Chinese people to this outstanding success. Yeah, I'm really eager to see how China's space station is also opening for international astronauts to join and do science on the Chinese space station. I think this is a very strong symbol of international cooperation.
China's lunar exploration program has gone from newcomer to pioneer in just 20 years. And now the world scientists are using their unprecedented samples from the moon's far side to unlock ancient secrets. CGTN's Chen Yilin looks into why China's lunar exploration is captivating the world and what it brings to the global community.
The discoveries that have come about from these missions are just, amazing.
月球是全人类的，嫦娥是全人类的。
In 2024, one lunar mission captivated the world. China launched its Chang'e 6 mission, the first in the world to bring back lunar samples from the moon's hidden face, the far side. Nearly 2 kilogram samples were collected from the moon's oldest and largest crater. And now, these samples have enabled groundbreaking discoveries. I traveled to one of China's leading labs to find out more.
这是我们的嫦娥6号月壤研究的第一站。
这就是我们嫦娥6号的月壤。
对，这就是来自于月球背面的宇宙密码。
看上去特别微小，这里面有多少颗？
大概应该有个300来颗的样子。
Within these tiny grains of moon dust lies explosive evidence about the moon's largest scar.
SPA 盆地它的形成的时间，一直被国际上的这个深空探测领域的科学家们定制为最高的科学目标之一。它记录了整个太阳系比较早的时候，整个太阳系里一些撞击的一些印记，也很重要的一个节点。这也是月球上面最大的一个没有解决的一个谜案。
Chinese team aims to find the material that marks this critical incident, norite clasts. After half a month of relentless analysis, they cracked the case.
我们最大的成果发现是，嫦娥6号月壤里面发现的特别少量的物质，记录了月球上最大的撞击疤痕的它的形成的时间是42.5亿年，这个是我们最大的发现。
This is the first direct result of any sample that has been collected from the South Pole Aitken Basin area. It's a very significant age that has been derived from Chang'e 6 samples.
Humanity has sent more than 140 missions to the moon, but only 11 of them have collected samples. Remarkably, 10 of those missions explored the near side. China's Chang'e 6 mission broke new ground. I talked to Professor Mahesh, a leading planetary scientist who has studied lunar samples since the Apollo era. So, Professor Mahesh, what do you think of China's 2 sample return missions?
Chang'e 5 and Chang'e 6 are the only 2 sample return missions that in my lifetime. so therefore it has been super exciting. But in addition to that, I mean, the discoveries that have come about from these 2 missions are just, amazing. It brought a lot of people together.
He joined hands with Chinese scientists to research China's Chang'e 5 samples, revealing something startling: a dry lunar mantle reservoir for young volcanic rocks. But behind these groundbreaking discoveries lies a more compelling story. China's lunar exploration program has gone from newcomer to pioneer in just 20 years. The country has successfully executed all the missions. The legacy of these missions isn't just in rocks. The country has also explored a broader landscape of international cooperation. 4 countries hitched a ride on Chang'e 6, with payloads from the European Space Agency, France, Italy, and Pakistan. These international instruments have unlocked unprecedented research opportunities on the moon.
I have been actually working and thinking about this project more than a decade ago. Actually, there was a gap of almost 20 years, 15 to 20 years, where there was almost no mission to the solar system. And so I'm very excited that this project that was just in my mind finally becomes reality.
It's the first step for Pakistan in the deep space missions.
This spirit of collaboration is expected to deepen with future missions. The focus will be on the lunar South Pole, where an even bigger blueprint has been set, the International Lunar Research Station. To understand the scope of this future, I traveled to meet with the chief designer of China's lunar exploration program.
吴总呢，说到国际月球科研站，它的具体目标有哪些？
按照我们目前的建议啊，或者我们的设想，我们希望能够实现50个国家，500个国际科研机构或者组织，再就是能够有5000名国际科学家一起共同参与。月球是全人类的，嫦娥是全人类的，所以我觉得我们有责任和大家一起来共同探测。
From lunar samples to global partnerships, China's lunar missions are marking a new phase of space exploration, one where discovery and cooperation go hand in hand. Qinling, CGTN.
You have been watching our special coverage of China's latest manned space mission, and the Shenzhou 20 launch has been declared a success, and its 3 taekwonauts are on board and headed for the China space station. They'll be arriving there in about 6 hours. We'll continue to keep you updated on their journey and their progress, but as we wrap up now, let's take a look at some key moments from the launch. I'm Jiao Yang in Beijing from the team. Thank you so much for watching.
7、6、5、4、3、2、1，点火！起飞，起飞，110、130、130秒，44毫秒，起飞，110、130、130秒，44毫秒。主持人持续转弯，程序转弯。
Dark we rise and soar, guided by the dreams we wore. From the oceans to the skies, endless fire burns in our eyes. Beyond the stars we chase the light, with fearless hearts through endless nights. No frontier can hold us down, the universe is our playground. Mountains high and oceans deep, secrets in the void we keep. Every step a tale to weave, for those who dare, who still believe. Beyond the stars we chase the light, with fearless hearts through endless nights. No frontier can hold us down, the universe is our playground. The universe is our playground. Mountains high and oceans deep, secrets in the void we keep. Every step a tale to weave, for those who dare, who still believe. Beyond the stars we chase the light, with fearless hearts through endless night. No frontier can hold us down, the universe is our playground. Echoes call from far away, guiding ships through cosmic sway. With every launch a new sunrise, the quest for knowledge never dies. Beyond the stars we claim the skies, bound by hope that never dies. To worlds unknown we'll make our mark, lighting flames within the dark.
Three, two, one.